welcome to All Steelers Talk, your home for everything Pittsburgh Steelers, presented by allsteelers.com.
What is up, Steelers Nation? Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. I'm Noah Strackbine, joined every Monday and Wednesday by my main man, Steven Thompson. Find us on youtube.com/All Steelers Talk and subscribe anywhere you get your podcast. Today, a surprisingly another fully loaded show. We have recorded 3 days in a row this week, and every single day there has been a full notepad worth of things to talk about. So the Pittsburgh Steelers offseason, it means one thing. It's heating up. We're getting ready for football. We are less than a week away from OTAs. It has been a beautiful week here in the Burgh. I did some golfing with some Steelers media members yesterday instead of working. So
who'd you go with?
Good old Alan Saunders and Josh Roundtree. Let me tell you this. When people tell you that they're not good at golf, most of the time they're lying. I'm not. I'm telling you the truth. Josh Roundtree goes, "No, I'm not really that good." Alan goes, "I'm not really that good." Smoked me. Both of them, yeah. It was embarrassing at one point how bad I was losing.
Not that I'm surprised by Alan. I don't want to, I love Alan. I don't want to, not doubting his golf skills. But Josh, I would have believed that he was full of crap from the start.
Oh, really?
He seems like a guy who golfs a lot. I don't know.
Oh, yeah,
I just kind of get that vibe. I was seeing right through that.
I thought you meant the other way around.
No.
Yeah, no. Yeah. He showed up. He had the polo under the sweater. Yeah, and I was just like, it's over.
Yeah, that's like when you play high school basketball and one of the kids shows up with one leg sleeve or an arm sleeve or something. You're like, oh my god, this kid's gonna give me hell for 40 minutes.
It's not even fair. It's not. Exactly. That's exactly it. Like when you're playing Pee Wee football, the one kid that showed up in the speed rev helmet got it for some special occasion. You're like, damn it.
They have a visor. If they have
a visor, you're
over.
Like that kid's about to. There's a reason coach gave that kid that helmet.
Right.
Yeah, 100%. Smoked me. Wasn't even fair. At one point, but I will say this. I went almost the whole 18 holes without losing a golf ball, which is, my head, a moral victory.
Yeah. No, hey, that's all you can hope for. Not that I'm someone who golfs, but that every time, I talk to someone who golfs, they come home and they're like, well, I didn't lose a golf ball. And it's like, okay, that's
a win. That's all I look for. And one given day, it's don't break a club, don't hit anybody, keep some golf balls. And, I'll check that one up as a win. But shout out to Alan. Shout out to Josh. It was a good day on the course. Shout out to Three Lakes Golf Course as well over in Penn Hills. Fully loaded day for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like I said, we are now 6 days away from the start of OTAs and minicamp. In the last 24 hours, they've made 2 signings, one being a big XFL star that everybody's been waiting for. On top of that, still waiting on some Quan Alexander news. We'll get to that. And a list that we both believe is a little questionable. On Kenny Pickett, we'll talk some quarterbacks, and of course, we'll answer some questions as I sent out a mailbag tweet yesterday. Got some good responses. Excited to dive into those. Let's start with some news and notes here. Manny Jones and Hakeem Butler both signed to the Steelers yesterday. Manny Jones claimed off waivers after they put Rennell Wren on IR, ending his season. Swap a DT for a DT. Manny Jones comes in here. I think he's got 2 games of playing experience for the Arizona Cardinals. Not much going on. You look at this guy, do you just kind of look at him as hey, come here for the summer, be part of the 90-man roster? Or, you think there's actually something behind this?
Probably just a 90-man. Look, there'll be a chance for him to, maybe be a practice squad or something like that. You're banking on potential. You don't really know who this guy is. I don't know. Yeah, give him a shot. See what he has. He was really productive in college. At Colorado State, 181 tackles, 13 and a half sacks. Sorry, I don't know if that's tackles for loss or sacks, but 13 and a half. That's something you can work with for a guy who didn't really get a chance to really prove what he was with the Cardinals. I don't know. Maybe he'll become a preseason legend, and we'll be talking about him more as the season goes on. But for right now, doesn't look like he'll be a major player at all. But still, a little bit more depth for that 90-man in training camp.
Yeah, kind of feel bad for Rennell Wren. Never like to see an injury this early in the offseason. But yeah, I agree. A guy that'll come in here, possibly compete for the practice squad. Not really much going on. Not really an exciting move. The defensive line is just too deep. You're not going to, chances are you're not going to beat out Isaiah Loudermilk. You're not going to beat out Armon Watts. You might beat out Braden Fajoko, but I doubt it. Jonathan Marshall, I doubt that one too. And then you got, your undrafted guys. I just think that it's a loaded room. Wren probably had a very small chance of making the roster. I think Manny Jones is kind of the same. But, we've been surprised before. These guys have bounced around in years past, and the Steelers have been a home for a lot of these guys that weren't able to stick in other places. Either way, exciting that these things are still happening. I like to see guys get opportunities real close to OTAs. With that said, Hakeem Butler finally inks his contract to come to the Pittsburgh Steelers. He was the biggest name that wasn't at rookie minicamp. Everybody made a big deal out of that one. Where's Hakeem Butler? Why isn't the XFL guy here? From what I heard, he wasn't able to actually attend rookie minicamp and join the Steelers until OTAs. I've been told the other side of that since then, saying maybe that's not totally accurate. I don't know what side is true. All I know is that he's here. The XFL announced it yesterday. Hakeem Butler signs with the Steelers. He's not part of the 90-man roster. Everybody's assuming that this guy is immediately going to make the team. I don't think that's the case. I think it's a very loaded wide receiver room. What are your thoughts? Do you think this guy is a star or another prove-it piece?
I'm kind of with you. I think he has some talent. Like, you don't score 8 touchdowns. You don't lead any football league in touchdowns without having a little bit of talent. But I'm just not sure what he brings to the table that the Steelers don't already have. Big body, can go up and catch contested balls. Steelers got a couple guys like that. I don't know. Between like Pickens and even maybe to a certain extent Myles Boykin. I don't want to count him out completely, but and Allen Robinson too. I'd probably even put him in that discussion a little bit. But yeah, he's a receiver. He's not a guy who's gonna wow you on special teams. It doesn't seem like, doesn't have crazy speed. It doesn't. I'm just not sure what he brings to the table that the Steelers don't already have there. So to me, it seems like an uphill battle for him to not just make the roster, but to be kind of an impact player. But who knows? Like it's receiver. We've seen stars break out or guys break out before, but
True.
I don't know. I'm not super sure what. Like you said, people think this guy could be a star. I'm not as sold on that.
Yeah, I think it's too early for this. Like, there's a reason that these XFL stars are playing in the XFL. Does that mean that they can't transition into the regular NFL? No, I think that the Spring League is a good opportunity to kind of continue to progress. A lot of these guys don't progress as rookies. They don't get opportunities afterwards. Maybe that's the case with Hakeem Butler, but still, eight touchdowns is cool. It means that he's a red zone threat. It means that he can play the slot. He's a big body. The Steelers are looking for those. But I think it's going to be hard for a guy to come in here and say, I am the 5th best wide receiver, unless he's really good at special teams. Like, you're going to have to beat out Myles Boykin as a gunner. You're going to have to beat out Gunnar Olszewski as a gunner. Anthony Miller as a practice squad guy. Just if you run down the list, like George Pickens, Deontay Johnson, Calvin Austin, Allen Robinson, and then you might keep 2 more. So maybe you keep Myles Boykin, and then you're, I guess, sticking with Hakeem Butler if that's the case. But even at that, you're the 6th best wide receiver on this team. I just don't think it's a given. Is it exciting that he's here for the summer? 100%. Like, it's cool to see the Steelers grab the top wide receiver in the XFL, a big body guy who kind of resembles Allen Robinson, and say, let's see if we could turn this guy into something. But at the same time, like, my expectations are low. I'm not really looking at this guy as a 53-man roster guy yet. I just look at him as, it's exciting. It's an exciting name. It's an Anthony Miller to bring into the summer and say, maybe this guy's a stud. Maybe he's not.
I feel like at the very least, we're going to enjoy watching him at training camp, like he's going to make some ridiculous catches at training camp and everyone's going to be, all over him saying, oh, you're telling me that's not a 53-man roster?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he did it in shorts and shoulder pads
in training camp. Yeah. It's the Gunnar Olszewski of last year. Remember, Gunnar should have been the MVP of the league last year. If we were judging off of OTAs in training camp, 100%. Yeah. But maybe that's him, but maybe he does shine in the preseason. We'll see. I wouldn't hold very high ground on Hakeem Butler and say that during training camp, he's going to get a lot of reps with Kenny Pickett or any of that. I would say he's getting a lot of Mitch Trubisky reps, a lot of Mason Rudolph reps, and maybe he earns a spot on the team, but I don't know. I think the Steelers have their guys. They're just kind of bringing in tryouts. All right. To the same extent, switching sides of the ball here. Quan Alexander, we talked about him yesterday, signing, super hyped about it. That was the expectation. 24 hours. We're over 24 hours now, nearly 48 at this point. Still no news of a signing. You getting concerned? You starting to think that maybe things didn't work out in the visit? Maybe the contract negotiations didn't go well? Or are you just thinking patience is key? We just got to wait this one out.
I'm a little bit concerned. I don't think you can't be, after
Mhm.
there was so much hype around his visit, and then I don't know, just a whole lot of nothing for 2 days. That's a little bit concerning, but I don't know. I'm still confident they'll get him to sign. Might be for a little bit more money than they might have wanted, but that feels like splitting hairs at this point.
Yeah.
I still think Quan Alexander is going to be on the roster. He's gonna be signed. He's gonna be at training camp, and we're gonna kind of forget about this in a little while. But it does give you a little bit of just and OTAs are just with OTAs approaching. I feel like everyone's a little. You just gotta you would rather get this done sooner rather than later.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's the case with Mason Rudolph too. We talked about Mason Rudolph, how he's signing, how here's the thing, there's still no news there either. I think the concerning part is like the Mason Rudolph thing. It was he is expected to sign. The Quan Alexander was like he's visiting with the expectation that a deal will get done, but it was more highlighted the visiting part, as in Mason was just like, this guy's probably going to sign here. Like, there's no real reason to come in for a visit. I don't know. There's a little bit of concern for me, I guess, but I'm with you. Like, my expectation is still that this deal is going to get done, that Quan Alexander is going to end up in Pittsburgh. I just kind of look at it and go, how long until that expectation changes? Like, do we go a whole day? If by the end of today there's no news, are you starting to think, nah, maybe this isn't going to happen? If it's the whole day tomorrow, is it like, this isn't going to happen? But at the same time, like, who else is negotiating with this guy? Like, we haven't heard any other news about Quan Alexander. And it's not like we wouldn't know, like, it's not like the world wouldn't know Quan Alexander's got 2 bidding partners and the Steelers are one of them. We would have an idea of who else is talking to Quan Alexander. Right now, it's just Pittsburgh. I don't know. Like you said, I'm not concerned. Something to monitor, something to keep an eye on. And if it continues, I'm giving it 3 days, the 36-hour rule. If it's 36 hours and if that would that be it? 72 hours.
I do that all the time. You're good.
Yeah. 72 hours. Then at that point, I'm starting to think, oh, okay, what's going on here? And if the weekend approaches and, if OTAs hits here and he doesn't sign, he's not coming to Pittsburgh. But if it's before that, I'm still just going to, walk a line of caution and just say things are getting worked out. It's a busy time of the year. The Steelers are signing XFL guys. They got their hands full. Well, maybe. But for right now, I agree. Keep it on the low, keep it calm, and just kind of see what happens. Next thing on the news and notes here. Kenny Pickett gets dropped in Good Morning Football's top 5 quarterbacks under the age of 5 by Jamie. It's Jamie Buckman. Jamie Buckman. Erdale, I believe, is her maiden name. My apologies. I don't really watch a lot of Good Morning Football, but well-respected people over there. I always enjoy it when I do catch it. Kenny Pickett in her top 5 drops number 5 on the top 5 QBs under the age of 25. Number 1 is Jalen Hurts. I think that's a given. Trevor Lawrence falls in number 2. Brock Purdy, number 3. Justin Fields, 4. And then Kenny Pickett, 5. Thoughts? I'm not too happy with this list. I won't lie to you.
Well, so the first thing that strikes me is Justin Fields behind Brock Purdy. That seems pretty crazy to me. I'm a big Justin Fields guy. I'm higher on him than others, but whatever. Kenny Pickett, I feel like, is in this list kind of by default almost.
Yeah.
Not that he's bad, but it also seems like we're counting on a big step forward from him. And that seems to be kind of the general consensus around Steelers fans in the league is that, yeah, what Kenny did last year alone probably wouldn't merit him getting into this in this list and making him, one of the better quarterbacks at his age. But everyone seems to be counting on a big step forward for him.
Yeah.
So that's just a lot of pressure for him to kind of live up to this billing. I have no gripes with Kenny being on this list, but yeah, I don't know. Some of the guys that are ahead of him, I guess one of the guys that are ahead of him, I don't know if I agree with it.
So the Justin Fields one gets me because if you're going to judge Kenny Pickett off of what he's about to do, I feel like you got to do the same thing with Justin Fields because Justin Fields didn't have an impressive year last year. It was just the ground. He was incredible on the ground. Like the easiest bet in football was the over on whatever Justin Fields rushing numbers were for 15 weeks of the season. But at the same time, like he didn't impress through his arm. There were a lot of questions about whether or not he's like the guy for the Bears, which I'm with you. I think Justin Fields is a phenomenal quarterback. I got no worries about what Justin Fields can do with the team around him, but I kind of feel the same way about Kenny Pickett. Like, I didn't watch Kenny Pickett last year and go, oh, this guy is going to stink. As long as you put a good team around him, I feel he's going to be totally fine and a good quarterback. Brock Purdy is the name on here that kind of like, to me. I think the Brock Purdy hype is real. It's allowed, like, it's warranted. I look at it and say, how much praise can we give this guy if we're going to talk about how Kyle Shanahan's just the greatest quarterback coach of all time? Like, if we're going to sit here and say anybody could win in Kyle Shanahan's offense, why is Brock Purdy like this gift from God quarterback? And then people are going to bag on everybody. Because, like, if that's the case, let's hold everybody to the same ground and let's judge them off of their coaches and their play. And if that's the case, what Kenny Pickett did to lead a team to 7-2 and a 9-8 record with the worst offensive coordinator football has seen in the last decade, then I mean that's pretty good to me. Like, I think that deserves a little bit of praise. I think it's hard to judge off of one season for both of them, because I'm a little worried Brock Purdy's going to fall off, but I'm also a little worried maybe Kenny Pickett doesn't make the huge jump that we expect him to. But I think Justin Fields is the easiest one to jump, I guess. I don't know about jump. I don't know if I'm jumping Kenny Pickett over Justin Fields or Brock Purdy. I just think that the argument has to be made for both of them.
Yeah, you got to judge everyone on the same curve. Both Kenny and Justin didn't have a ton. Kenny had better weapons, I guess, honestly, than Justin Fields did.
At one point, they had the same weapons.
It's true.
The same weapon.
It's true. It's true. Very true. But yeah, you got to judge everyone on the same curve. I think you said this before we got on, but drop anyone into Kyle Shanahan's offense and let's see what they do and let's see how good they look. That's not to discredit Purdy. Like, he did what he was supposed to do in that offense, but I don't know. Like, I think if Trey Lance, like, there's a reason that Jimmy Garoppolo also won in that system. There's a reason Mr. Irrelevant could win in that system. We'll see if Brock Purdy even wins the starting job against Trey Lance. Like, I don't think that's a given either.
Yeah, I kind of look at it like, if Kyle Shanahan's out here talking and people are actually believing that a guy like Sam Darnold is a franchise quarterback, like, and has the franchise quarterback makings, what do we judge? Like, what is the line here? Could anybody come in here and be a franchise quarterback in San Francisco? Because I believe that they could. Like, I genuinely believe that you could take any quarterback in the league, put him in Kyle Shanahan's offense, and they're not going to, some of them will probably play better than others, but everyone's going to be fine. Nobody's going to stink in Kyle Shanahan's offense. That's just how I look at it. Like, if you're going to put Kenny Pickett in Kyle Shanahan's offense, see what he could do with it. Maybe it doesn't work out. Maybe it does. I don't know. The playing ground's weird when it comes to Kyle Shanahan. Like, I think he's just like the total opposite. And then the other side of that, though, like with Justin Fields, he's got, possibly the worst team in football. Kenny Pickett's got the worst play caller in football. Like, it's just, it's different. Your starting points are so drastically different. Like, where Brock Purdy's started his NFL career is here, where Kenny Pickett started is here, where Justin Fields started is on the floor. Like, not even anywhere close. So once you even them out, who's the better ones? I don't know. I'd put Justin Fields first of that three, and then I'd probably go Kenny Pickett, Brock Purdy. That's kind of how I feel about that.
That seems very fair to me. That's probably how I'd do it too.
Yeah. But besides that, Trevor Lawrence 2, Jalen Hurts 1, no questions asked. Good list. Yeah. Good list. All right, next thing, let's stick with the quarterbacks here. I want to talk about the signing of Mason Rudolph, which we just said hasn't become official yet, I guess, but it is expected to happen. There's some talks. Fans, media, everybody's tossing this out there that possibly, with the addition of Mason Rudolph, another vet, somebody that Kenny Pickett knows, all the excuses that the Steelers used to keep Mitch Trubisky around, well, they carry the same warrant with Mason Rudolph. Does that open the door, possibly, for the Steelers to consider a trade of Mitch Trubisky or to get rid of Mitch Trubisky and try to save some of that $8 million cap hit?
Well, look, that's something I would have explored long before even signing Mason Rudolph. Like, they could save a lot. Like, this was a team that was pretty desperate for cap space. Mitch was eating up a lot of that, a lot more, especially relative to the value he was bringing to the team. Yeah, I'd consider a trade. I would have considered cutting him. Especially now that you have Mason, you have extra insurance against that.
Yes.
But again, with most of your team signed, I feel like, again, like we talked about this yesterday, but with assuming they can land Quan Alexander and that works out, they're not going to make some other huge splash in free agency. So I don't know how much they need that cap space anymore. So at this point, it feels like a sunk cost, and you just kind of hang on to him before, because I think he's a better backup than Mason. I'd feel more comfortable if Kenny goes down, putting Mitch in there than Mason. So I don't know. You consider it. You'd see what you can get for him, but it's not as much of a necessity as I felt like it was maybe at the beginning of the offseason.
So right now the Steelers have $8.1 million in cap space available. This is according to Over the Cap. I believe this includes summer's coming. Are you ready to unveil your beach bod? Manscaped is here to ensure your body is ready for the wild with their game-changing full body grooming and hygiene products. Don't be the guy at the beach with the Austin Powers chest hair, and if you grew some winter man tits, the least you can do is make sure that they're hairless. It's time to get ready for the hot guy summer by going to manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping with our code STEELERS20. Look it, I'm full-blown Italian as it comes. And man, let me tell you, I need Manscaped every single summer. Manscaped is dedicated to helping you increase your confidence and level up your full body grooming game with their Performance Package 4.0. The kit comes with the essential Lawnmower 4.0, waterproof cordless body trimmer, and a ton of other liquid formulations to round out your grooming routine. Whether you're trimming your chest or the treasure chest in your pants, this is the best trimmer on the market. Their trimmer features a ceramic blade designed to cut hair on loose skin and to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. You could even trim an arrow pointing to the promised land if you're bold enough. Inside the Performance Package, you'll find the Manscaped Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant and Crop Reviver Ball Toner, an anti-chafing ball deodorant and moisturizer, because we know how painful chafing can be when you're wearing your bathing suit all day long. No one likes nose hairs, so their package also comes with the Weed Whacker 2.0. You also get 2 free gifts: the Shed Travel Bag, a $39 value add, and the patented high-performance reduced chafing Manscaped boxers. Excuse me. When I get that excited about a product, I just can't talk. If you're wearing sandals, you need to get the Manscaped Shears 2.0 nail kit. Having the right tools for grooming is essential. Do yourself a favor and always use the right tools for the job. Get 20% off and free shipping with our code STEELERS20 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping with our code STEELERS20 at manscaped.com. Trim your chesticles with the besticles. I just want to double check here and make sure that it includes the rookies. Yep, Nick Herbig's in here. So it includes the rookies. So they have $8 million. You're maybe giving $1 million to Quan Alexander, maybe $2 million max, but you're not giving a bunch of money to that guy. So you've like $6 million. I will say this: the Steelers like to carry $10 million into the season, just in case, but they haven't touched. No, they did. They reworked TJ Watts, correct, I believe, earlier in the season. They haven't touched Minka's. They haven't touched Cam's. They could touch Mitch's, but if I'm Mitch Trubisky, I'm telling him pound sand, because there's no chance you're touching my money. But there's options to get you over that $10 million mark or get you somewhere close to that $10 million mark. So I kind of agree. Like it's dead money, but it comes down to, I think, the other side of that question, which is what you could get for him. I don't think that's anything right now, but somebody goes down in training camp, somebody goes down in the preseason, you get a big name that's hurting, or for some reason, somebody doesn't work out somewhere. I mean, Mitch is a guy, you're going to call for Mitch. You're not going to call for Mason. Nobody's sitting around going, hey, is Mason Rudolph available? Let me get my hands on him. But for Mitch Trubisky, you'll take a shot on him because he shined last year at moments. He looked real bad at other moments, but he shined last year in moments. Everybody in the league knows what the Steelers offer in offense. It's not much. Nobody watched Kenny Pickett and Mitch Trubisky last year and went, oh man, dude, Matt Canada is so good. I can't believe these guys are bad. Everybody around the league's going, yeah, wow, they're really working with a handicap here, huh? Like it's not really working. So they know that. I think the expectations should be higher than, what his performance was. I think that they'd make the call. It just kind of depends on the compensation. I think it also depends on, what if Tanner Morgan comes out here and in those, 15 snaps that he gets, he balls out. The dude just has a phenomenal arm and looks really impressive and is really smart. At that moment, like, are you keeping Mitch Trubisky for one more season just so that you could lose another young quarterback that you believe could be a backup? And in a year from now, you're going to lose Mitch Trubisky because there's no chance he's sticking in Pittsburgh after a year.
No, and I think that's a good point. You don't. Some dominoes have to made further down the road thing than immediately. I think that's a strong argument. Tanner Morgan could be a lot more than we expect from him. But yeah, you gotta kind of wait to see how the rest of the league not considers Mitch, but kind of considers the rest of their quarterback situation, and what kind of regard they hold for their guys. I think that's a point well taken about kind of the things that have been around Mitch and the environments he's been in. He has not exactly been set up for success in any of his. I don't know how long he's been in the league for. It's been a while, right? Like 5 years. This is 5th year.
No, more than that.
Really? I thought he was drafted in 2018.
No,
I'm trying to remember when he was at North
2017.
Carolina. 2017. So 6 years.
6 years in the league. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and in none of those 6 years has he been set up for success at all. So, and I mean, you wouldn't be going to a team where you're either going to be a backup or play for a team that has lost their starter. But it'd be a better shot. I think there are very few places where he would get a worse shot than Pittsburgh and Chicago.
Yeah.
And
he literally went from the worst offense in football, hands down, the worst offense in football. Like an incompetent head coach so much that like people were shocked Matt Nagy actually got another job anywhere after that, to Buffalo, where everybody was like, this is what he needed, a good team, a good environment, blah, blah, blah. He'll learn, to Pittsburgh, who was the next Chicago Bears, like the worst offense in football by a mile. No, nothing even close. Like the worst play caller to touch a football field since Matt Nagy, and Mitch Trubisky somehow had to work under him. So I agree. I think that do I think Mitch is a starting quarterback in the NFL? Probably not. Do I think that he deserves another shot if there's an opportunity? Yeah. Like I'd take a chance on Mitch Trubisky and say, yeah, this guy could, we'll see what he's got, especially compared to, and I think this is the big one. It's compared to who's out there, because people talk, Carson Wentz, Matt Ryan, Teddy Bridgewater, like when are they going to sign? When is somebody going to go here and get these guys? If I'm a team and my quarterback goes down at any point, Carson Wentz, I'm going Mitch Trubisky over Carson Wentz. I'm going Mitch Trubisky over Matt Ryan. I'm going Mitch Trubisky.
Isn't Matt Ryan, he's going broadcasting, right?
Yeah, but he's not retiring. He said he's not retiring.
Oh,
he can't.
Okay.
So technically he can't retire. I was watching the Pat McAfee show yesterday, and Ian Rappaport was explaining this to everybody. He cannot retire, or he has to pay back some of his guarantees. So he'll never retire. He will just be an NFL eligible quarterback forever, and maybe make it into the Hall of Fame in 30 years or something. I don't know. Carson Wentz, I'm going Mitch Trubisky over Carson Wentz. Matt Ryan, I'm going Mitch Trubisky over Matt Ryan. Teddy Bridgewater, I'm going Mitch Trubisky over Teddy Bridgewater. Joe Flacco, all respect in the world, going Teddy Bridgewater. Going him over Nick Foles, Chase Daniels, Josh Jackson, Bryce Perkins, EJ Perry, and Jake Luton. I don't even know who that is. Those are the remaining free agent quarterbacks, like the big name guys worthy of Spotrac's list of free agent quarterbacks. I'm going Mitch Trubisky over every single one of them. He's only 28 years old. I just think that I think that the potential is there to trade him. I think the big question is, do you think that the Steelers would even consider it if somebody called?
No, quite frankly. I mean, they like Mitch for
Mitch
and Mason for reasons that I just really want to. I want to ask them point blank, like just off the record. Just tell me why you like these guys so much. Like,
what does Mitch know? What does Mitch know that we're not allowed to know?
Right. Like, what do these guys know? Like, what have they shown you? I don't mean to rag on him, but like, I don't know. I have not seen much. I guess Mason does have some stuff to his resume, but like with Mitch, you're again, like we talked about, you're banking on potential and maybe like in a
Potential of a
certain situation.
28-year-old,
Yeah, and in a certain
29.
situation, he could be decent, but like I don't know. There's little I've seen from Mitch as a Steeler that would give me any kind of confidence. Confidence deserving of what the coaching staff in the front office clearly have in him.
Yeah, 100%. It makes no like if I would have traded him 3 months ago, but I don't know. The Steelers, it's all in the plan to assure Kenny Pickett is smooth sailing. And in my opinion, they've done that. They've done the complete opposite of what I would do if I was trying to make sure that Kenny Pickett would have a smooth second season, but I don't make these decisions for a reason. So we'll see. But I'd say the door is definitely open. And once the Mason Rudolph news is announced, I think it opens even wider. So we'll see. Jumping into the next thing, we'll finish off the show here. Tossed out a tweet yesterday asking for some questions. We grabbed 6 of them. We're going to dive through them here for you guys. Appreciate everybody who sent in a response and a question, and hopefully we got to everybody that we could. Richie Hunt, good follower of the show, always hits us up on Twitter. Appreciate you, Richie. What player do you believe has to play above his baseline in order for the Steelers to have a solid season, not named Kenny Pickett? I'll let you start this one off for us.
Well, the first name that comes to my mind is really George Pickens. I think that's another guy. Like we've talked all about the leap that we want Kenny Pickett to make. I
Yeah.
think that goes in hand with a leap that George Pickens has to make to not just be a guy who catches 2 deep balls a game and maybe a touchdown, but a guy down to bust something open or get a first down, to make a big play just about every time he steps on the field. So that's the first name that comes to mind for me.
Yeah, George Pickens is a good one. I'm going to go Kenny Pickett. I'm going to go Najee Harris. I think Najee, if he has a great season, this offense is a whole other level than what it was a year ago. Obviously dealt with the injuries. Everybody wanted to make an excuse about, Najee got too big. Najee isn't fast. Najee's indecisive, blah, blah, blah. We've explained a million times why things didn't work out early for Najee Harris last season. I think this year, from the pictures I've seen, he looks slimmer. He looks more elusive. I think that's a name that if Najee goes off, this offense, Kenny Pickett or not, is already better than what it was a year ago and has more options than it was a year ago or had a year ago. And I would say a lot rides on what Najee does this season. All right. Is the slot, first off, shout out Aiden. Appreciate you. Is the slot cornerback the biggest weakness on the Steelers? Yes or no?
Ooh, that's a good question. I'm tempted to say yes, but also that's a pretty good sign if your slot cornerback is your biggest weakness on the team,
Yeah.
I feel like they have options there. It's just to a certain extent, like if you have tons of options, that could be both a good settle on one guy to be your slot corner. That's a problem, but got options, I guess. I think this will become clear that when we step onto the field at training camp, when we start talking to guys, or even OTAs maybe. But I'd say for right now, yeah, it's hard to argue that. You could say maybe depth at linebacker. I'm trying to think of what else. Like, yeah, I mean, maybe slot receiver. Like, you don't really know who's going to be there. Like, Allen Robinson's kind of unproven, Calvin Austin too. But yeah, slot corner probably.
Yeah, I think slot corner is their biggest weakness right now. I've kind of held true to that for a little while. I think if you lined up the entire starting offense and defense, you'd be comfortable with every position until you got to Duke Dawson in the slot or Chandon Sullivan in the slot, and you go, ooh, no. And teams have learned, just like they did last year. The Cincinnati Bengals started lining up T. Higgins across from Arthur Millette because they knew he was their weakness on defense. They'll start doing that again. The AFC North has way too many weapons at receiver, the Cincinnati Bengals especially. But Amari Cooper, we saw what he was able to do last year against the Steelers. There are just too many talented receivers to have a hole in the secondary as big as the slot corner. And I think right now they just don't have one. And it's concerning. I tossed out a name in my to-go today. It was Mark Gilbert out of the USFL. He's led the USFL in interceptions with 2. He's got like 10 pass deflection. Former Steeler who's got starting experience with the Lions. He's only 25 years old. I think they give him a call. I think they should give him a call and say, hey, come try out as well. I think he would beat everybody out. I just do. I was impressed with Mark Gilbert when he was here as an undrafted rookie out of Duke, I believe. Yeah, I believe it was Duke. A guy who, if he didn't deal with injuries, what I was told as an undrafted rookie is that if Mark Gilbert didn't deal with injuries coming into the league, he probably would have been like a 2nd or 3rd round draft pick. Because of that, he fell to an undrafted free agent. He impressed with the Lions, but the Lions stunk at the time. That's a name to watch for me that I think the Steelers should call. I'm not impressed with Chandon Sullivan at all. I'm not impressed with Duke Dawson at all. Luke Barku, maybe that's a guy, but we talked about him. Not impressed with him either. I don't think that they have a name right now. I think Patrick Peterson's their best bet, and that definitely concerns me. Unless Akella Witherspoon is like their backup on the outside, then I feel better, but I don't feel great about it.
Well, I was going to say, are there any of their kind of outside corners that you think could bump down inside?
Yeah, it'd be Patrick. It'd be Pat P. Him, Corey Trice, but Corey Trice has got to prove himself. Peterson's a physical guy. I think he could guard tight ends well. My concern with him is if you bump him in, Joey P's got to be 100% ready to cover the outside full time. And then you got to be able to say, James Pierre or Akella Witherspoon or James Pierre is ready to be the primary backup on the outside. I think Akella is. I don't know if James Pierre is that good, but you have the options. It just doesn't sound like the Steelers are going that way. Like it sounds like when Omar Khan mentioned Sullivan and Duke Dawson, my all alarms went off as full speed, full blast. I was like, why are you doing, like, you have DeMonte KZ, you have Keanu Neal, you have Patrick Peterson. Why are you putting Duke Dawson in the slot? That just doesn't make any sense to me. So I don't know how they'll approach it, but if they're going to keep who they have, Patrick Peterson's my name to watch. Alrighty. Nick Berlansky, shout out Nick Berlansky over at Inside the Penguins and Tip of the Iceberg podcast on YouTube. Check them out 100%. What are your expectations for Calvin Austin this season? Do you think he'll be a serious 3rd or 4th option at wide receiver or just a gadget guy?
I'm a big Calvin Austin guy. I have been since he got drafted. I think he will be closer to 3rd, 4th option as a wide receiver versus just a gadget guy. I think it would be a huge waste of his talent if all you considered him to be was just a gadget guy to run some jet sweeps or whatever. I have big expectations for Calvin Austin. I love the speed that he brings to this offense. I like that he brings something a little different. I don't know. I feel like they're going to start the season with, barring any injuries or anything, Allen Robinson is the starting slot, but I have a distinct feeling that Calvin Austin is going to work his way into that starting job and be a really valuable piece for him.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. It's Allen Robinson's job, but I think it'll be more of like there's 2 slot guys, this season, or I think everybody's going to get utilized. It's not going to be like more snaps over less. Deontay Johnson and George Pickens will hold the upper hand over everybody else. The rest of the mix, Pat Freiermuth, Darnell Washington, Connor Hayward, Calvin Allen, those guys will all they'll be like an even split. But I think I agree with you 100%. Calvin Austin was the most electric player at training camp last year. He was the most fun to watch. You could tell that this guy had an itch. The Steelers were huge on him in the draft. That's the only reason they drafted him, is because they couldn't believe that he fell as far as he fell. 3rd, 4th option, 100%. I don't think that there's anybody remotely close to him after that 4th guy that would even, surpass him or have an opportunity to surpass him. And I think Calvin Austin's used as a gadget guy and as like that 3rd, 4th guy. Like I would be very surprised if Calvin Austin is not a complete menace for the Steelers this season. Very high expectations. Friend of the show, Calvin Austin is. So you always gotta root Calvin Austin. Good guy.
The first Steelers game I ever covered in person was, I think, Steelers Seahawks in the preseason, and I think we didn't know that Calvin was going to be injured, was going to be hurt for that game and for the rest of the season. And I was so disappointed that we saw him like walking around in a boot or something on the sideline. And I was disappointed. I thought that was going to be fun.
Yeah, it was like that was the worst way to watch that guy, the most explosive guy of the summer, go down like that. But I think that just it added the itch. It added the itch. Every time I'm at the facility, Calvin Austin's there working, and every time I'm like, "Hey, what's going on, man? How you been?" He's like, "Just grinding, man. Back to it." And I'm like, "You've been back to it for a year now." So I expect Calvin Austin to be a freak this year. I got high expectations for the kid. 4 typos full. Appreciate you. 4 typos. Maybe Kenny Lamar 7. I don't know. Either way, shout out. Appreciate you. What are realistic expectations for Broderick Jones in year 1? And can we all agree not to slander the guy when he inevitably struggles? Let's start with the second part here first. 100%.
We're going to overreact to every mistake that he ever makes. That's how it works. Have you ever watched NFL football before?
That is what happens. That is what happens. I will say that we were, I do give us props. We were one of the few last year that was like, look at Kenny Pickett is a rookie. He's going to suck. You got to just let him suck. And I think the same thing with Broderick Jones. Like when we know the struggles that are there, you got to let him ride it out. Like, what is your other option? Dan Moore Jr. I don't think that he holds enough grounds for fans to be like, get him off the field, put Dan Moore back in there. This is ridiculous. I think that everybody should just stay calm and see what happens. And also let's not say that he inevitably struggles. I think that a lot of linemen come in here and absolutely kill it. Creed Humphrey was the best center in football last year as a rookie. So the expectations, are 0 right now. Let's have 0 expectations. Yeah. To answer the first part, I guess, what are the realistic expectations? So I guess we can't have 0 expectations. What's your thoughts for Broderick in year 1?
Well, so we talked about this earlier this week on one of our many other episodes. But I expect him to end up with the starting job, but he's going to end up facing some really talented pass rushers through the first 3 weeks of the season. I think it's like between the Raiders, the 49ers, and who else is in week 3 or in those first 3 weeks?
Cleveland.
Oh, yeah, Cleveland. So it's like, yeah, welcome to the league. You get to face Joey Bosa, Myles Garrett, and Max Crosby. Like that's pretty insane. So he's going to get tested real early, and I think we're going to have those thoughts of like, oh, is he ready for this? Like, did he really deserve this job over Dan Moore? But Dan Moore might have struggled just as much in that same situation. So I'd say I'm giving him 4 or 5 weeks before I can say, okay, I think we actually know who Broderick Jones is and what he looks like as a left tackle just for this season alone. I think my expectation is at least that he starts and goes through, normal rookie things where he does struggle. I'll try not to slander him. I'm not sure what counts as slander or not, but
oh no, I'm going to slander heavy, but that's just, it's part of the gig. I think Broderick Jones, I agree with you. Super tough test coming in. I don't know if he'll, not to, just prove you here, but I believe no. He'll play Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett's the right side. Is Nick Bosa a right end?
Oh, I'm not sure, but I assume these guys, do they not switch sides that often? Like,
some of them do, some of them don't. I don't know.
Like
I don't watch enough 49ers football. I know Myles Garrett will line up against him because Dan Moore Jr. has held his own against Myles, and I've been very impressed with it. So he will take on Myles Garrett in week 2, which is huge. Max Crosby, I believe, also switches around. So you're probably right there. So it's 3 huge tests. Week 4, week 5. I agree with you. Look, my expectations are this. The Steelers' offensive line has gotten way better this offseason. If Isaac Seumalo could stay healthy, he's part of the best offensive line in football 1 year ago. That's an automatic boost. Mason Cole, I don't think he's a bad center. I don't think he's great, but I don't think he's a bad center. I think James Daniels is your other building block, and I think Chooks has been fine. If Broderick Jones is the worst player on your offensive line as a 14th pick rookie, I feel pretty okay. I'm not really upset about what the Steelers' possibilities are if he's the one. Now, if he struggles terribly, my expectations are that Dan Moore Jr. is going to get some starting reps, and that's just what's going to happen. But I don't look at Broderick Jones and say this guy is going to stink in year 1. Like, he went to Georgia. Every time he lined up in practice, he played against a Division I football player, or not a Division I football. He did play against a Division I football player, but he went against a first-round pick every single time for 3 years. Like, this guy knows what he's doing. Plus, he didn't start until this past season. So he was on the practice squad or the practice team or whatever it's called in college. So he was going up against these Jalen Carters and these Nolan Smiths. Like, he's already NFL built. I think that was a huge understatement of why the Steelers drafted him, is because the Eagles go so heavy in Georgia players because everybody there plays against NFL guys. You want a left tackle that knows how to play NFL football? Draft the one who plays against NFL guys every single day in practice.
It's a crazy theory, but, draft the best players on the best teams, and sometimes it works out.
Sometimes, and in Georgia, it seems to always work out every single time. All right, 2 more for you guys. Scott in Jersey. Shout out Jersey. Now that Mason is back, would you like to see a 4th arm in camp? I would prefer a rookie who could stick on the practice squad and develop into a 3rd or backup for the next few years. Love the idea of a kid like Hunter Johnson resurrecting his career or simply having one. I think the bigger question here, Tanner Morgan seems to be the only guy that would come in. They're not going to sign a 5th quarterback, unfortunately. I think the real question is, do you think, Tanner Morgan's got a shot to stick around for the season, even if they keep Mitch Trubisky and Mason Rudolph?
I absolutely do. I think that guy's too smart. He's got some talent to him. I absolutely think so. If anyone is going to stick around and be that practice squad guy, it's Tanner Morgan. And I don't think Mason pushes him out. I don't think signing Mason pushed him out or anything. I still think this guy, I still think he's not going to dress on Sundays, or he may never rise above the practice squad, at least this season, but he's going to stick around for sure. I'd be willing to bet on that.
I don't know if I agree with that one. I hope he does. I hope the Steelers keep a practice squad quarterback, just because I would like to see them start to develop somebody for when Mitch is gone and when Mason is gone, and have that backup plan. But their ideas with these backup quarterbacks just stump me. If I'm the Steelers, I'm looking at this going, look at Mason, you stick around 1 year, Mitch is gone next year, we'll sign you to a longer term deal, 3 years maybe, and you could be Kenny Pickett's backup, and you could feel real good about that one. And then Tanner Morgan hopefully sticks around and he's QB3 moving forward. And then you feel really good about your quarterbacks for the next 4 years. But if you have 3 of them already, unless they just don't have a practice squad guy, but Tanner Morgan wouldn't do anything throughout the season. He would just kind of stand around. Practice squad guy would be nobody. It'd be Mason.
Yeah. As opposed to being, I guess I see your point. Yeah.
I agree. I think that you should keep a younger guy, but it depends on, are you going to waste a practice squad spot on a 4th quarterback who isn't going to do anything at all? I don't know. I have a hard time believing in that one. If Tanner Morgan doesn't get signed somewhere else, I think he'll be the guy that anytime they need another QB for some reason, or somebody goes down or whatever, he comes to Pittsburgh. But
yeah, I was going to say, I'd be really afraid I'd be not really afraid 4th quarterback, but I'd be afraid of missing out on him. I'd be afraid that someone
me too.
else picks him.
Me too. I think that's the big thing here. Is you're going to get rid of Tanner Morgan to keep Mitch Trubisky for 1 year, and then you're going to be back in the same boat next year trying to figure it out again. And I just don't it just doesn't make any sense. How many years in a row are you going to add a young QB that you're hoping that has potential? Chris Oladokun had potential. Tanner Morgan has potential, and you're just going to keep letting them go because
you love Mason Rudolph.
Because you love Mason and Mitch so much. And it just doesn't make sense. But do I think one sticks around? I don't know. I think that's a lot of questions that'll come in training camp. I think we got to see him throw a football first with pads on and an actual defense. And then from there, we'll figure it out. All right, last one for you guys. Joey, appreciate you. What do you think is going to be the workload for Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren next year with the bolstered O-line and Najee being presumably healthy this year? Will it be more 50-50 workload or 33-67? Wow, dude did some math. Shout out, Joey. Kind of year. What are your thoughts on the workload split for Najee and Jaylen?
I honestly think it'll be closer to a 70-30 in favor of Najee. I think Najee's going to be really good this year, and Jaylen is really good too. I'm a huge fan, but I don't know. Najee's due for a big year, and if Najee's cooking, they're not going to sacrifice his touches just to keep him fresh or anything, or keep him healthy. some point, a guy's got to run the football, and Najee's going to run the football a lot. He's going to get his touches.
Yeah, I agree. I think, the Steelers tried very hard to add a second running back and be a 2 running back system last year. I think it hurt their soul the entire time. They're probably like, what are we doing? We need a bell cow. I think Najee, if he's healthy and if he's slimmer and if he's not taking the hits that he took the last 2 years, it's like a 70-30 split. I think Jalen, gets a lot of reps and is utilized a lot more this season in different ways. And I think he takes a step forward, definitely. But I just think that those 30% of the reps are more utilized correctly. Last year, it was a lot of Jalen's just coming into pass block. Jalen's going to catch a football out of the backfield, here or there. I think this year it's like, let's use Jalen as the change of pace back. Let's use him on third downs, all these things. And he actually has a role instead of just like, all right, toss him on the field. Najee needs a break. I think that'll be more orchestrated, but Najee's going to take a huge bulk of the carries. And I agree with you. I think this year for Najee Harris, huge year. Like I said that last year, injuries got us down. I think this year, the biggest thing to watch is Jaylen Warren's going to hold 70% of the snaps in training camp because they're going to keep Najee healthy. And then once the season comes, they're just going to let Najee loose and say, go ahead, buddy, do your thing. Enjoy. Yeah. So we'll see what happens. With that, we're heading out of here. Thank you guys so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Find us anywhere you get your podcasts and check out all of mine and Steven's work at allsteelers.com and our pit coverage at insidethepanthers.com. Appreciate everybody who submitted their questions. I will be back on Friday with Derek. Enjoy another beautiful day in the Berg. Peace.